Hello everybody, welcome back to What Culture Wrestling. I am Gareth, sat here in my lovely studio on a Sunday. This is what we do now, guys. Get with the program, this is what happens. But it's a bit of a grey day today where I am, but that is not going to dampen my spirits because we've got some awesome news that we need to talk about, because obviously we had AEW Double or Nothing happen last night. We've got a lot of big key events that went down on that show. I'm not going to spend too long on it because obviously we've got a What Went Down video already on YouTube. It's got Adam Wilborn and Phil Chambers breaking down all the action that happened last night. They also did a stream which is still available there on YouTube, so check that out. But yeah, in terms of some of the stuff that went down, we did have the Best Friends beat Private Party to become the number one contenders for the tag titles. You also had Brian Cage, former Impact World Champion Brian Cage, debuted in the Casino ladder match. He was that mystery entrant. MJF beat Jungle Boy, Cody beat Lance Archer, and he becomes the new TNT champion, which, I've got to say it, I'm not going to spend too long on it, but that belt just looks like something else. It made the Universal title look like a piece of, royal jewellery. It just wasn't good. It was not good in my opinion. And also we had Chris Statlander beat Penelope Ford. We also had Dustin Rhodes beat Shawn Spears, and Shawn Spears' ass was on the show a lot. It was odd, but yeah, whatever floats your boat. We also had Hikaru Shida. She beat Nyla Rose, and she became the women's champion, the AEW women's champion. That ended Nyla Rose's reign of 101 days, I believe it was. So again, that was great, really hard-hitting match. You had Jon Moxley successfully defended his AEW World title against Mr. Brody Lee. Again, there was one spot in that in particular where they fell through the stage, and it was just, I was a little bit worried for a second there, but it was, that was, again, incredibly hard-hitting action. And finally, we had that Stadium Stampede match, which was a match for the ages. Obviously, we had Matt Hardy and the Elite taking on the Inner Circle in this stadium, and it just had everything. Again, I could sit here for about an hour now just breaking down everything that happened in that match, but we need to move on to other things. But the one thing I will say, as soon as I saw Hangman Adam Page come in a horse, when he rode onto the field on a horse, I popped loud. That's probably one of my favourite wrestling moments in modern times, at least. It was brilliant. So yeah, I tip my hat to you, gentlemen. That was something else. And obviously we had the Elite and Matt Hardy beat the Inner Circle. So yeah, all round, just for me, a brilliant pay-per-view. There were a few things that I didn't necessarily agree with. I would have liked to see Lance Archer beat Cody and become the first TNT champion, but it looks like he may have dodged a bullet with that belt. So yeah, and I feel like they made Mr. Trick not having Mike Tyson punch somebody. He scared off Jake the Snake Roberts by taking his t-shirt off, which it scares somebody if I took my t-shirt off, to be fair, right now, because I'm not in a good spot. But that was a bit, I didn't really, I felt like that could have been so much more than what it was. But aside from that, I felt like it was a pretty solid pay-per-view, a pretty good pay-per-view, really, not just solid, a really good pay-per-view. So yeah, great work from everyone at AEW. So, speaking of AEW, after this event, this Double or Nothing pay-per-view, Tony Khan did his typical media scrum, and he spoke about a few things, really. He spoke about an upcoming pay-per-view, the next pay-per-view on the cards, where that location was going to be for that pay-per-view originally, the signing of Brian Cage, and he also talked a bit about Britt Baker's injury. So, I'll talk about that location thing first, because I think that's probably the most interesting takeaway from his post-event scrum thing. He said that Fyter Fest, which is the next card, really, the next card coming, he said that was originally going to be in London. That was going to be their UK debut in terms of a big event. And that's obviously had to be cancelled now due to the current global situation and everything else. But that's just, that would have been so cool if we would have had it in London. I would have just jumped on the train and gone down and watched it. It would have been amazing. But obviously, it is what it is. This current situation takes another wrestling casualty in that sense. We don't get to have that event go down in London, but it's nice to know that the UK has been thought of by AEW, and hopefully we will see an event in the UK sometime soon when the world does get in a back in a place where we can have that happen. So fingers crossed. But we also had the announcement that Fyter Fest location has not been revealed yet, but that will be revealed on Wednesday on Dynamite. So that's cool. We'll find out where that's going to be. A lot of people are suggesting that it could still be in Florida, but the fact that they're holding off, letting us know where the location is going to be, makes me think it might be somewhere else. So again, we don't know what's going to happen there. We'll find out. But also, it has been announced that Jon Moxley will be defending his AEW World Championship against Brian Cage in the main event of Fyter Fest, which again doesn't have a location yet. But at least we've got a main event, and the main event looks like a hell of a match. I'm so here for that. Looking at Brian Cage in that casino ladder match, he just looked like an absolute brute, and it was it was a different dynamic, a very different energy to throw into that, because he was just a ball of fire, just a big muscular ball of fire. And it was, yeah, seeing that energy go up against Moxley right now, they're just going to try and beat the hell out of each other. So I'm all here for that. Also, speaking of Brian Cage, Tony Khan did mention how he obviously signed Brian Cage. He signed him back in January, but Cage was sidelined with an injury. So he was on the books. He carried on paying him, but he came into the company with an injury. So he would have debuted him sooner, but they couldn't because of his injury. But it's quite good that Khan said, yeah, I was still willing to pay him and keep him on contract. And it was a good show of loyalty to a person that hadn't even performed for them yet. So again, I think that's another box ticked for AEW. I think that's a good look right now. And he also then mentioned Britt Baker. Obviously, Britt Baker's injury was addressed slightly on the pay-per-view. It was mentioned that she had, I think it was an LCL tear during the pay-per-view. But they said that she's going to be going on Dynamite next week and addressing it herself and saying what's going to be going down with her injury, what's the plan for her career now going forward. But then Khan actually came out and said that he expects her only to be out for 6 to 8 weeks. So, I mean, that's great news. That is, because Britt Baker's been one of the shining lights of AEW for the last couple of weeks, especially during this crowdless era. I feel like she's coming to her own as a character. So it's good news if she's only going to be away for a couple of months, and you never know, by the time she comes back, there may even be people in the audience again, which I'm not saying it's going to be a full crowd by any means, but we might be in a better situation than what we are now, is what I'm saying. So we'll obviously find out more on Dynamite. We're going to find out a lot of things on this week's Dynamite, which is brilliant. It makes you want to tune into the show. So, yep, I'm looking forward to Dynamite. Okay, last big piece of AEW news coming out of Double or Nothing was the announcement that All Out is set to go down in September. So that's going to be pretty cool. Obviously, we had All Out last year, and that had Chris Jericho beating Adam Cole, Adam Page in the main event of that to win the inaugural AEW World Title. So yeah, that was a pretty big event last year. Hopefully it can be just as big this year. Like with Fyter Fest, we haven't had an official announcement yet on where it's going to be held. Because it is going to be going down in September, the 5th of September. We don't know what the state of the world's going to be like then, so it could be anywhere. It could still be going down in Florida. It could be in an arena with some form of a crowd. We just don't know. But it's still cool to know that the actual event's going to be going down in September, so we've got something to look forward to, so that's good stuff for me. And now we are going to go to the thing that we always do on a Sunday. We talk about the Smackdown ratings that happened over the weekend, and it's relatively positive news for WWE because they've managed to hit around 2 million viewers on average for the third straight week, which is something that we haven't seen in this crowdless era. So that's good news for WWE. They hit an average of 2.04 million across the 2 hours, which is weirdly the exact same figure that they did on the 8th of May episode as well. So go figure. Sorry. So yeah, the number has declined. I think it was just 3,000 on the previous week's show. So again, that's good. It's quite consistent. They also managed to finish number 1 in the 18 to 49 demographic across the cable shows on the night. And that notched a 0.60 rating for the first time since the 17th of April. And that's up from last week's 0.55, I believe. So again, it's positive stuff. It's good stuff to see for SmackDown. I feel like SmackDown it's not the most compelling show in the history of mankind. It's not. But what it's been doing recently is, I think, reflective of the ratings. It's been consistent to a certain degree. I feel like the show that we just saw on Friday, I felt like that. I liked the layout. I liked the format of that show. It was more wrestling centric. There weren't too many filler backstage segments or filler matches. Really, every single match had stakes, and yeah, I really enjoyed that layout. So hopefully we get more of that version of SmackDown going forward. If they've seen that it's actually helping the ratings, we might actually get that. So I'd be very happy if that is the case. Right, and this is our last news story of the day. It's all regarding a pretty rough last 24 hours involving Hana Kimura, obviously the death of Hana Kimura. And the wrestling world has just paid some lovely tributes to her, and a lot of people have taken this situation and used it as a way of highlighting the real damages that can be done through cyberbullying and the mental health effects that it can have on people. And Ronda Rousey's actually issued a statement on her Instagram, and she's, yeah, I'll just read the statement because I won't want to add anything to it. But she's said, "To Hana Kimura and her family, I am so incredibly sorry for your loss. There are no words that could possibly heal this wound. Rest in peace, Hana Kimura." And then she goes on to say, if anyone's reading this is suffering, know there are resources to help. And she obviously put some numbers in there, and another number that you can text if you need any help, or a crisis counsellor. And then she goes on to say, cyberbullying is a very real and growing threat to all of us as a society. Succumbing isn't weakness, it's human. We've evolved to feel as if our lives depend on social acceptance because the majority of human history, our survival is dependent on our social groups and standing within them. I know the trolls that spend their days harassing others online are battling their own mental demons, but please find a way to release your venom in a way that won't poison others. Even a straw's weight can be the one to break a camel's back. Just the tiniest push can be what sends someone over the edge. Be the kindness you wish you received instead of malice and neglect you're trying to pay back. Don't pass it on. Protect the world from what you've had to endure instead of spreading it. Which I think's a really positive and important message that Rouseys sent out there. She's obviously not been shy over the years in pushing back, maybe, and just sticking up for herself in terms of being trolled on the internet. And when she's received fan backlash, she's never been quiet. She's even recently she said F the fans and all the rest of it, and she was a bit more let's say abrupt with her feedback. But I think here she's taken a really human approach, because it is a real human issue. Everyone's going through things. Everyone's got their own mental health issues and things that they're dealing with. But I think it is a case of finding an outlet which doesn't involve tearing down other people. That's not what this should be. I mean, I'm not going to preach for this because it's not really a platform for that. But it's lovely that we have these comment sections and these places where people can offer their opinions, which are great. We love opinions. We love people talking and discussing things and discussing the favourite wrestlers and things going down in the wrestling world. But the internet shouldn't be a place just for tearing people down, because we've just seen the effects of it, what it can do to people. So yeah, I think it's a really strong message there from Rousey, and it's something we can all take something from. So that has been our Sunday news. A lot of AEW Double or Nothing stuff there to jump into, and some Smackdown ratings, and obviously Ronda Rousey's message there on Instagram. Let us know about all these stories, what your opinions are on them. I'd love to hear what you think. So if you want to follow any of us, head on over to What Culture WWE on Twitter. Follow myself at gmorgan04 on Twitter. Don't forget just to head on over to whatculture.com. Read loads of the lovely articles that we've got surrounding Double or Nothing today. We've got a brilliant ups and downs article on there as well. And any news that drops throughout the day regarding this show and shows going forward, Fighter Fest, All Out, all these things, keep an eye on whatculture.com, because we will be bringing that news straight on to you. I have been Gareth from What Culture Wrestling, sat here in my lovely cream chair in my little sweet studio thing on a Sunday. I hope you're having an incredible day, and whatever you're doing, just try and have a smile on your face if you can. And just have fun, watch loads of wrestling, and we'll see you soon.